This podcast is for educational purposes only. Options Geek LLC is not a broker dealer. Options Geek LLC and Felix Fry are not registered investment advisors. Options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for everyone. Please consult your own investment advisor before doing any trading. Make sure you read the full disclaimer at the end of this episode. All right, let's take a look at everyone's favorite stock, NVDA. Okay, so like always, we land on the home page. I'm going to look at 100 results. Click no spreads for right now, just to narrow things down. Greater than 2 weeks expiration. And I see here some big trades in Amazon and also in NVIDIA. We're going to take a look at the NVIDIA ones just because that's the big stock at the moment. Amazon is also a big trade, 95s in September to the 120 call. So they're rolling them up. This is going to be Alkion, and I suspect this is also Alkion. Okay, so let's take a look here at NVIDIA. We're just going to take a look at what's trading. And here are the most active strikes by volume. I'm going to tend to go to this filter because there's a lot of noise in here. So I look here and I see some spreads. Looks like auction here, traded together, 1108, 1108. And so this traded 20,000, September 350 calls. Looks like on the bid, because the open interest is about the same, I'm going to assume that this was closing and he's opening here up top, 26,430 calls, paying 91 and a quarter on the offer. So I'm going to use a calculator here. I'm going to multiply 26,000 times 91 and a quarter. That's what they paid. That's 2.325 million times the multiplier of 100 equals $237,250,000 of premium. Okay, but it's in the money. It's essentially stock. So he's rolling it to 2.6 million shares of stock at the 430 call level. It's has a high delta, 77. Stock would be 1.00. So it's almost the equivalent of stock, 77, almost 80% of stock. What he's buying here essentially is the 430 protection that it offers in the put. So the 430 calls are offering him, instead of just owning stock, they're allowing him to get 77% of the stock move, plus having some downside protection at the 430 level. Here, he's getting out of the 350 calls because they're expiring in a couple of weeks. So that's what he's doing there. There's another trade going on here where he is selling his 370 calls 12,000 times and buying 15,600 of the 430 calls. He's getting out of the Septembers and moving everything, 41,600 options into the December 430 calls. Again, that's offering protection as if he was long stock and had the 430 puts. So let's take a look at this December 430 call. Come here to the new options chain. December, we're going to look at the 430 call. So this is a deep in the money option. Remember, I told you that the option he was buying essentially through this structure, the option he's buying is the 430 put. Okay, so the 430 put is exactly where we're saying they buy. It's in the unshaded area here. Okay, but I'm going to take off this shade just so we can see it a little bit better. 41,000 here. This is the trade. And the RR dollar here is 561.18, probably a little bit lower when he bought the first tranche. So let's just call it 560, 561. That's where he's got to be thinking a little bit higher than that. So he's got to be thinking somewhere around, let's try 575. 575. And 575 gets us to 4.25. So we can move that up to 570. There we go. 577 gets us in there. 570. Let's call it 577. So 577 is his target stock price, which is about 17% higher. Okay, 17%. So that target stock price would make this trade valid to be paying this premium for it. You see here on the red, this is essentially saying, hey, in the money options, usually not the ones people buy, but some people do, some big investors do. And when they are buying it, they're buying it not because it's in the money. They're buying it because the in the money option has that put value right here, $19 of put value. Okay, so that's what he's buying the call, but he's inheriting that value. Okay, if that makes sense. Then this chart is marching higher. Again, we're approaching new highs. I'm just going to use the daily because the weekly this has made such a big move really in the last 6 months that the weekly is not going to tell me much here. So 575 is sort of what we're looking at. Can I get there? What is he thinking about? On a technical basis, we're going to say, okay, 480 was this level here. 500 is the high. 400 is the level here. So the question is 400 to 480 is how much? That's $80. $80 plus 480 is 560. It's getting us very close. And then you got this, what if it's really the high that's coming here? So 400 to 5, it's a little bit higher in pre-market, but let's call it 500. That's 100 points. And, you're getting 100 points here. And if it breaks through, maybe that's the 100 points. So we have a path to 570, maybe even a lot more. But it's clear to see that this has a lot of momentum. I highlight the trade because it's a massive trade. It's also important to see that he has increased the size. He has levered up and he's bought 30% more of these options and about 30% more here. So he's levered up. He's added 30% to his position of shares, and he now has 15.6 and 26. That's 4.16 million shares times, let's just call it $493 is $2 billion. So he owns $2 billion of NVDA here on a notional basis. A little bit less because you got to take into account the delta, but you get the point. We're talking about a $2 billion position. It's nothing to sneeze at. Well, he's buying this because it's easily doable that it could be up another 15 to 20% by December, 15 to 20% by December. So there you have it. We have a guy who is rolling out from September to December. He's actually rolling up in strikes, and he's taking slight premiums off of the table. Some of his premiums, he's taking some money off the table, but he's levering up on the strike. So net more bullish on NVIDIA, moving strikes up, which is, if he was just moving the strikes up without getting bigger, that would be less bullish. But here he's actually levering up, saying, I want more exposure and I want more leverage to the upside. So that's what makes it a little bit more positive. Again, the target stock price is around call it 577, 580. Maybe you can go a little bit higher. Let's call it 577, 585-ish, but that's what he's looking at. And if you see it starting to get towards that level, he's going to actually think about rolling again, taking some money off the table. And when that happens, if that happens, we will see how much he's trying to take off the table. Anyways, thanks a lot. Make sure you smash that like button, ask questions, comment. Have a great weekend.